Well, I've gotten like 600 DMs this week that have been like, "How's it going? How's the dancing?" So I'm here to tell you, okay? I my identity challenge to myself this week was to dance 5 out of the 7 days, to have an 8-hour eating window to get back into fasting, and one point this week to show my belly in a group of people. It is now Friday, so I have today and tomorrow left. And guess what? I haven't done almost any of those things. But I will tell you what's happened instead and what this week has beheld. I did do the dancing and the eating window Sunday, so the first day. I knew my period was coming. That's part of the reason I wanted to give myself like a couple days of not not assigning myself a task. So that happened earlier in the week. And then I had a total rupture, like existential grief spiral that I went into, I think Tuesday and Wednesday. It was Tuesday and Wednesday. And one of my deepest wounds is the feeling of rejection. And it's really easy for me when I get into one of those spirals to start looking for places where I feel like I've been rejected. Like that's an easy place for me to go to. And then that pulls up more of that same feeling. And, that's it's a spiral. And so I had felt that Tuesday, and I had a very and like it kept increasing throughout the day. I also had a headache, and I also had, oh, I was feeling nauseous. And so all three of those things throughout the day just like increased. I woke up Wednesday feeling better, and then I had one moment like like I remembered what had been going on the day before, and it kind of sent me back there a little bit. Then I had one moment in the morning where somebody honked at me. It was a lay on the horn kind of honk, but just being an asshole. And I was already feeling fragile. And I had to pull over and just break down and cry in the parking lot, which really helped. And I was aware while I was doing it that even though I was clearly having an out of balance response, but it was, that it was going to be helpful to kind of clear out whatever that is. So when I experience something like that, and this is why I do like the word rupture, but it feels like a chasm has opened, and like this is all the shit that's been living at the bottom of the chasm, and now it's accessible, and it's all coming up to be felt and all of that. And there's the opportunity for sure that you could just keep spiraling. That's a possibility. But sometimes it just needs to be felt, and then that helps clear it. So what I did, and this just came to me as an image in my mind, is, and this was on Wednesday after crying in my car. And I was like, okay, all this stuff is coming up. I want to, instead of just letting it maintain the shape that it's had, I want to give it a different shape. So I brought my singing bowl. This is for the crown chakra. Can you hear it? I don't know if you can hear it in the headphones. I brought it out to my workstation. And every time I felt like that chasm kind of open, or I felt a break in my emotional state, I did the singing bowl. Again, just to give it a different shape, just to give it a different frequency. Like, here's all this raw material that comes up that I contend with, and let me like kind of change the nature of of what it is. So it doesn't have to keep being rejection. It can now be whatever this frequency is. So I did that, and that was my version of like signaling safety throughout just a few times in the morning, really. I have liked having it out here though, because I actually play it. They usually live in my bedroom, which I am only in when I sleep, so they don't get a whole lot of airtime. But then later on Wednesday, I got an unexpected message. So now let me backtrack a little bit. As you know, if you've been following along, and if you're new here, that's why I'm explaining again. I've been putting myself through my own embodied law of attraction process. And then I've, like, a couple weeks ago was like, let me do this identity challenge because I know what the old thing looks like. And that's what I'm moving out of. But I don't have the new desires formed yet. And so this is to kind of play with, what are my desires? What do I care about? What's interesting to me? Who am I if I do this thing that's outside of my norm or whatever? So I'm seeking my next North Star. And I'm also open at just being like playful and light. Like it doesn't feel like a heavy burden to try to move toward purpose. It just feels like, this is one of those times of mush where I'm like, what is everything? I don't know. La, 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 la. But one of the thoughts that I've had, and it came up during my existential breakdown on Tuesday and Wednesday, is I do miss teaching. And, these videos give me an outlet, but it's not the same as interactive. Like, I'm an interactive teacher. I like to have an audience that I'm present with, and I'm guiding them through something, and I'm helping them, and I'm supporting them through their process. And one of my questions that came up Tuesday and Wednesday was like, do I, am I still a teacher? Do I still want to teach? Is that, like that's one of the things that's been the most satisfying, soul opening, like I feel in my best place and in my best version of me when I'm doing that. But is that still true? Like, is that still something I want to be doing? Maybe it's not even that at all. So I'm in a very like anything is possible place, which can come with a lot of grief and can also come with a lot of possibility. And so Wednesday, I work 40 hours a week or 10-hour days at a job. I like the job. I mostly like the team that I work on. It's a remote job, and this person is a coach, and I'm on the team that like helps people who are going through the challenge that he offers. Pays well, I have what I need. And but it's not like my most fulfilling work. And the team I'm on, so we have a manager, and then that manager communicates with like the owner of the company. Like our team doesn't really have direct conversation with the owner or anything like that. So the owner popped into a group chat on Wednesday with our whole team and said that they are going to be running a new type of challenge. And rather than him running it, he's wondering if maybe 3 to 4 people on our team might be interested in being the ones running the challenges. And they'd run like once a month. And I was like, me. So, and I had already talked to my manager about some other things that I might be interested in that might be beneficial to the company, jobs that don't really exist yet, like helping with onboarding and things like that. So those are still conversations that I believe are being had. So I was already kind of like I could make this job even more of what I like doing or am good at, or that kind of thing that also would benefit the company. But now here is an opportunity coming in, and with me sitting back, if I'm sitting back being like, how do I get to teach? Blah, 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 blah. How do I get to teach? La 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 la. Um, I have a limited perspective. I have a limited scope. I have the ways I've thought of that, a lot of times haven't panned out. So here, and I'm just had this rupture. I just went through like this breakdown. I'm like what do I even care about? What matters to me? What's important? Like, I don't know. And then, get myself back to neutral and then drops in, oh, hey, here's this opportunity. And it's not in the realm of like what I do on this channel or what I've taught before, but I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. I just like teaching. I really like it. And so I was an immediate like, yes, I would love to be considered. I then did have to send my YouTube channel, which was very funny because I'm like, this is again, it's entirely different it's not related to the work I do there. So I'm like, it feels very vulnerable to share that these are the things I'm talking about. But I sent it. He was like, great. He just wanted to see how I am like on camera and comfort wise and all that stuff. So now that's in the works. And I'm like, cool. And it's like, separate and additional compensation. I still have everybody who replied to him would still have the jobs that we have now and, the opportunity to run um, some challenges coming up. And I also love opportunities that aren't competitive. Like he wanted and received multiple people who are interested. So multiple people will be doing it. It's not just like he's picking one. So everybody who wants to will have the opportunity to. And that's just so exciting. And it's not something I would have thought of. It's not something I considered. But, as I'm grieving over whether I'm going to get to do my passion in life, here's an opportunity to do my passion in life. That's just right there. I don't have to go find it. I don't have to go like doing it, of course, it's going to be work, but it's work I love. I love that type of work. It's the work that opens me up. I also just wanted to share this other little story. So I go to the dog park every morning pretty much. And there are two older gentlemen there. One is there most days, the other one is there maybe 1 or 2 days a week. One I know is 69 years old. I think the other one is in his mid 70s. And we were all talking the other day. So I know the one owns a couple of car dealerships, and like he and his brothers own them together. And then the other one, I don't really know what he did for work. He is retired. But he was kind of talking about like this opportunity that happened for him. This was the day after I got the call up or got the message about the teaching opportunity, the running the challenge opportunity. Um, so I had just had this experience, and for me, I would consider my experience to be a manifestation. And in listening to the two of them that morning, because I already know again a little bit about the one guy that owns dealerships and then the other guy who's just telling this one story, but I just got this clear image of it's not just about like this is speaking to the masculine and feminine energies. Like the masculine energy is like the going and getting, and the feminine is receiving. And for sure I still have built inside of me like the messages that I was raised with. Even though I disagree with them, like they're still in me. They still like I hear them in words over and over and over again, like, you know, manifestation, like, well, why don't you just go work for it? Why don't you just go get it? Like I hear those things when I talk about manifestation. And listening to these two gentlemen Thursday morning, I was like, some people are built, and I would say like it's just how they came into the world, not necessarily like I would say it's how they came into the world. Um, Not necessarily like what they learned. Because again, I learned work hard, work hard, work hard, work hard. When I'm working hard, I'm actually suffering. And that doesn't mean that could sound like a couple of things. When I'm having to like push and push and push and push towards something, that's when I'm suffering. Not just working hard. I do work hard. Um, like my nature is in doing, receiving, doing, receiving, doing, receiving. And some people's nature, so like this guy that owns the dealerships, his nature is more like target and like go toward that target and have success. And he's built that way. And like his life responds to him that way. And then this other guy was telling the story where he was going after something and it got blocked. And then through that block, this thing opened, this thing opened, this thing opened. And then all these things open in his world that he could not have foreseen, that were bigger and beautiful, that more beautiful than he imagined. That's the experience. One of the experiences I had this week was, here's this opportunity that I wouldn't have imagined. I wouldn't have written to the owner of my company and been like, "Excuse me, sir, can I please do this thing?" And like I've said it about some other things I wanted to do, but it never would have occurred to me that I could run a challenge under his business. Like that just wouldn't occur to me. So the way my life responds to me is I definitely get an internal pull toward things often. And then I will go get those things. And they usually do not make sense to anybody else who looks at things in a practical way. Truly, though. And then I go through my emotional experience, and then something comes in, and I'm like, oh my God, wow, cool. And then sometimes I like go for something, in my 2024 story, which I've shared a few times on this, but my 2024 story is like such a great example of that. Like I was going towards something, building my business, and I was doing the things that you're supposed to do to build a business. I really was. Like I wasn't not doing things. I wasn't like, let me just, create my offer and assume people will come. And like I was working my ass off. And it was a push and a push and a push. And I was showing up daily. And it was like when I'm too much in my mental realm, it is exhausting. And it was showing up in my mental realm over and over and over again. And I was learning a new skill, marketing, and copy. I was learning a new skill. So like, that's how I kind of, I don't know about excused it, but I was like, well, I'm going to be in my brain for this for a little bit, and then usually something will like open itself to me and I get it. And it just did not happen. It did not happen. And I was like, okay, like this is just exhausting. This is just exhausting. Um, with almost no feedback, with almost no response, like a little, a trickle, enough of a trickle to like keep me like, okay, it's working, it's working. And then, oh my God, it was so rough. But there are people whose lives respond to them when they're in that energy. Like, let me show up to the same job for this many years and save this much, invest this much, da 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 da, get my pension, get my retirement, have this at the end of the line, like have a goal, go toward the goal. And I just love that we're not all the same. I do love that. Um, we do have as a society like we uphold the hard worker, and but it was great to like see this 70 something year old man also who was talking the way I talk, where I'm like, this thing was closed. This thing disappointed me. This was not, I couldn't go that way. And then something else happened that like was an opening. And so, this story from this week, like the only thing that I've kind of held on to, which again I was questioning at the beginning of the week, is like I want to teach. And I do love talking about creation. I also get all fired up about I love because I am in this group that started, well, it starts today, I guess, officially. But we're in this Telegram group, so we're all introducing ourselves to each other, and they're like, "What do you do? You know, what's your work?" And I get all fired up about like helping other people, like coaches, mentors, retreat holders, workshop holders, teachers who hold groups and helping them like create curricula, helping them fine tune like what could create a better result in their group. That fires me up as well, you know? So I'm like, well, maybe I'll do that. But like all of it just it feels like I've tried the versions of all of those things that I know how to do, and now I get to just let go of that and be like, okay, this is what I like. I'm going to let it come to me. This is what I want. I'm going to let it come to me. Like, I'm going to let this thing open in the way that it wants to open. Because when I try to push it, it closes. I push the door close. So, rupture this week to rapture. Not doing my identity stuff, but I have been doing other stuff. I'm not ready to talk about it now. And sometimes talking about it like then the energy kind of fizzles out. So I am doing things to take care of myself. I am saying things to myself like, not when I was in my rupture, that's just like, let me just take care of myself. But, I created a plan for today and I'm like, well, a lot of times when I create this plan, I don't follow through with it. And I'm like, well, the version of me who doesn't follow through, that's like the old version. So the version of me that does follow through, that's just like a different version. And what if I just followed through with it? What if I just did that? You know, it doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be a whole thing. Like we make everything a whole thing. Everything has to be like with some big purpose or aim or goal or whatever in mind. And like, what if I just showed up differently because I wanted because I don't want to keep showing up the way I have been? So, I'm not doing the specific things that I set for myself this week, but I am still in that conversation with myself and I am still showing up differently. And I will talk about those things more. And then I had my rupture and then an opportunity. And trying to think if there are any other updates. It is July 3rd, so I'm thinking about fireworks and how I hope there are not any. I don't think they're legal here. I think because I believe we're in a fire ban. The whole Southwest is like on fire. It's gotten a little better, but it's been on fire for a while. So it'd be nice to not set this area on fire. I think that's all I have for the moment.